I'm not telling somebody, hey, you can't eat this.
Right.
Little do they know, I have just spent the past 15 minutes decontaminating my whole seat.
What other medical condition do people have to justify it and be like,
Totally.
well, let me make sure that they see the cross on my medical bag.
Totally.
Like, that is not right.
Something that's gonna be very triggering for me is hearing bags open. Hi.
Hello,
And welcome to EpiPod. Sarah is a mom to 2 little boys with food allergies.
And Danielle has navigated life-threatening allergies her entire life.
Living with an invisible health condition is so isolating.
The fear and the anxiety.
Trying to cover it up so you don't affect anybody else.
Especially your kids.
Phew.
Sound familiar?
Join us on the couch and take a load off with people who just get it.
We're so glad you're here.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, we're back.
We're back for episode 2.
We're really doing a podcast.
I know.
I think the first time you do it, you're like, well, that was a fun little experiment. And then you sit down for number 2 and
We're like, this is our life now.
yeah, and we sit here in these chairs.
With each other.
It's so important. It's just fun. I know. And I do think it's important because I think, we're going to be talking about stuff that a lot of people don't have people to talk about with. So,
it's South by Southwest right here in Austin, Texas. And I was telling you before we hit record that, I don't know, a lot of the times when I am talking about allergies, whether it's in person, but especially on the internet, I'm like, okay, that's enough now. Like, that's enough now. But these past couple of weeks, I have been around some newer friends who have their own funky, unique to them medical things going on. And it made me feel so much more, I don't know, it was just so much encouragement that I didn't even know that I needed. And I think I spend a lot of time worrying like, okay, like that's enough about this weird thing that, doesn't really affect a lot of other people. It's just your thing. And then seeing people out in the wild, whether it was, we don't have the same things. One was a different kind of allergy. One was a different medical thing, but I went to bed smiling ear to ear that night, just being like, we all have our stuff.
Totally.
And like, I didn't know how much I needed to see it to feel less alone. So I don't know. I just feel so much more encouraged and honestly honored to be doing this with you.
Yes.
Because hopefully we can be that for other people.
Today we're talking about air travel, which is something that, downright people are afraid to do it.
Totally.
There are people who have reached out to me on my Instagram page who have said, I've never done it before. And not because they didn't have the opportunity or didn't want to or didn't have to get somewhere.
Yeah.
They flat out said, no, I'm not booking a ticket because my child has food allergies.
Wow.
And that is limiting.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Where, Graham has actually taken probably 20 or more flights and he has anaphylactic food allergies. So it is possible. And we're going to talk about all of the things today.
Yep.
And you've done it a ton too.
I grew up in a family, my parents are 20 years apart. So when I entered the scene, my dad was in the wind down part of his career and travel was a big priority for my parents. So we would go every 6 weeks on a pretty big trip, not in the car. And so it was just very normal for me all growing up. And as an adult, still very normal for me. My dog went on 16 flights alone last year, which is hilarious. So we travel a lot. And even though, when I was a child, I didn't have the severe food allergy anxiety that I have now, that's the one thing that I hold sacred and dear of like, we're not going to lose this. We're not going to lose this.
Right.
So it's not just like, oh, I always did it and therefore it's fine. It's like, I am white. I went from, oh, you always did this as a kid and it was fine. And you had those allergies, but you also had your parents looking out and like just luck. And now sometimes I'm white knuckling through it. Luckily,
but you're doing it.
I'm totally doing it.
Yeah.
And there were some rough patches, especially getting back into the habit post-pandemic, just traveling less during those years. But yeah, with both some encouragement from my therapist, exercises from her, and my amazing allergist, Dr. Silvers, just like him really giving me statistical truths and research to find solace in. I feel like I really worked through it. Now air travel feels like it used to before.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which we will share with you guys.
Let's get into it.
Cool.
Did you know 2 kids in every classroom have a food allergy? But here's a hot tip for a school-friendly treat that's perfect for school lunches, birthday celebrations, and holidays. Abe's muffins. You know how much we love them.
I feel like these save the lives of food allergy moms every day.
Absolutely. You can also, like, if you just have the muffins available, just put some icing, like safe icing on top, and you've got mini cupcakes.
I have seen you do this on your story, and I'm always like, we don't want a cupcake now.
It has saved me.
I love that. These delicious little muffins are free from dairy, egg, peanuts, tree nuts, except coconut, soy, sesame, and pea protein. We love that they are free from pea protein too.
Yes.
That's something that I used to avoid for years, so it's unique for an allergy
to have
brand.
It called out on a label is important.
Totally. The little chocolate chip mini muffins are the perfect sweet treat for kids and kids at heart.
That's like you. Yeah, look for Abe's in the bakery section at Whole Foods or your local grocery store.
I just saw them at Tiny Grocer, which is an Austin small family-owned grocery store.
So they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
That's so neat.
I'm obsessed. Thanks,
Yes.
Abe.
Thanks, Abe.
Sarah, you actually travel a lot now for your food allergy treatment with Graham.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So we fly every 10 to 12 weeks to California. We usually try to do a straight through. That's tip number 1.
With littles.
If you can, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
With no allergies at all, get a straight through flight. Let's not have any layovers. Plus, that does limit your overall travel time. So to me, it really is important because that's less food I have to pack, like maybe it's just one meal and a bunch of snacks instead of lunch and dinner, to get to a destination. So we do try to keep it short. We've never done international. I'm not saying you can't with food allergies, but for us, we're just kind of usually doing these straight through flights. And we're going directly to Long Beach. That's where Graham's treatment program is. And it is, it's gotten easier as we've done it. We've also made a few trips back home. I'm from Louisiana, so we'll fly for, say, Thanksgiving. We've went to a family reunion last year. So I have other little trips in between that we've taken. But generally, we're going out to California every time. And I've kind of gotten into a rhythm, a routine. I will say for us, packing snacks, like one of the best things I ever did was it's actually from REI, but it's a split pack is what it's called. So it's like half cooler and half dry pack up on top.
I'm already picturing people being like, where do I get one? We're going to link all of these tools in the description. So Sarah's exact pack, we will find it for you.
It's the best. And it keeps things super cold. We pack ice packs. So I'm able to actually pack a lunch like I would for school in the bottom part, and then yogurts, anything that needs to be refrigerated, if you will. And then we have, the dry snacks on top, and it's actually big enough to fit our Epi bag that has the, emergency medicines and epinephrine, all of that. And we just kind of wear it on the backpack. A lot of people also wonder, I don't know if you've gotten this question, but are you going to be stopped for having epinephrine, like going through security? And maybe we start there with security because I feel like that is one of people's biggest concerns is like, how do I get through security? I don't know about you. Have you ever had anybody stop you with your Epis?
Never. Music festivals, yes. Airports, never.
Yeah. I mean, I think they just see that stuff all the time, right? Like there are diabetic people who have insulin. Right. I mean, I've never even gotten them out. You know how they say take liquids out and put them in their own separate container? I've never taken Epis out, and they have never said anything about them.
No, I have never been stopped, never been asked about it. I also keep mine in the Allermates temperature control little mini pack. And living in Austin, you have to protect them from the heat and randomly the cold now, sometimes with the freezes.
I know, for like a second, and then we're back to 100 degrees.
It's red, and it has the medical cross on it. And so that immediately signals to people, like, even if they saw it on the x-ray machine. But I've never been asked to pull that out.
Yeah.
Music festivals, they think that I'm trying to bring in, I guess, alcohol. But like, have you seen the tampon cases?
No.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, Sarah.
I am not cool anymore. Clearly,
you can get tampon cases where you pull out the tampon. It's like a vial of vodka or Jack and Coke.
It's a flask, but disguised as a tampon.
As a tampon applicator.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So they're thinking maybe that your Epi container is
something.
And
nefarious. So, yeah. And they're like, what is this? And I'm like, I have a severe food allergy. And then they're like, can you open it? I'm like, there's a needle inside. But like, sure. Cause I use AviQ.
Right.
And it talks to you. So they're like, in case of emergency, they're like, whoa, okay, put that back. Yeah.
They're like, okay, never mind. I'm so sorry. I judged you. Yes. Okay. So you've never been stopped for epinephrine. When you bring food, do you carry it any certain way, or what do you bring with you?
I think just 90s baby allergy girly.
Yeah.
I am a lot more casual. Don't have to worry about little people.
Right.
I eat a big meal before. Everybody's comfortable with different things. I don't want to rely on an airport. I don't want to be reading labels. I don't want to wonder if somebody's hands were clean when they were setting out the snacks. So if I want something to eat, I will bring it. I will buy a water bottle because I also don't know if a flight attendant has, some airlines, I fly Southwest and they no longer serve peanuts, but some flights have first class and they do serve warm nuts or something. So I don't want to overthink like, oh, did the flight attendant wash her hands and then crack open my drink?
Right.
So I buy a water bottle that's sealed once I'm through TSA. But other than that, I'm packing like a miniature goldfish. Honestly, I'm really good at being hungry, which sounds silly and when you think about it, kind of sad, but I am really good at, I just look at it as intermittent fasting. So I'll eat before a big travel day. I will bring any safe snacks from my pantry. The furthest I've ever gone is I know I'm going to land very late and I won't have time to grocery shop or interrogate a restaurant. Restaurants will be closed. So sometimes I will pack like a dinner for once I arrive at the Airbnb or hotel or wherever I'm going. But yeah, having a dog, my little Westie is my whole life, as you know.
Yes.
I honestly, it's been really helpful because I'm focused more on him than on, I don't have the opportunity to hyperfixate the way that I did before I traveled with him. I still take care of everything. I still have my steps that I go through to keep myself safe, but it's like, okay, you wiped it down once. That's it.
Right.
You don't have to wipe it down 3 times because one, that's not necessary and your therapist would not approve. But 2, the dog needs to be tucked underneath. You need to calm him down. He needs a treat. Is he okay? Is he safe?
You don't want him barking and
all the
annoying
things.
the passengers.
Yeah. So honestly, he's a really good distraction.
Yeah.
I don't pack a lot of food. Usually it's like a goldfish,
oh my gosh,
like snack pack, and I buy a water bottle.
This is not my life at all, Danielle.
Yeah.
This is not my life.
So what you're saying is not have kids. I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, I love my boys, but man, there's something about air travel that makes them hungrier.
That's insane.
They are always, we go through like a third of the snacks I bring before we even step foot on the airplane.
That's insane.
Graham is always like, I need a snack. I don't know. I think some of it is like he knows we've packed a bunch and he's just like, oh, these are all for me. I can
like
eat
going
them.
to the movie theater for him.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Like, when you sit down, you eat like 80% of the calories are consumed pre-movie starting.
Yes.
Or whatever statistic that is. That's Graham in the airport.
Exactly. He
so
eats
funny.
So much food. One thing I will say, there's not a lot of perks about having food allergies or being a food allergy family, but there is a perk when you're air traveling that we board early. So we are always pre-boarding.
Same.
And that makes me feel better because I have a little bit more time. I don't feel like rushed like a herd of cats. Is that how you say it?
Something.
Herd of something. You don't feel like you're in a herd, a stampede of people trying to get on the airplane. And you have a little more time to like pick your seat. We also fly Southwest, so we're able to kind of look and see. One of the times we got on recently, we looked down in the aisle, and I kid you not, the first 3 or 4 aisles, there was like food or a wrapper or something.
I have a lot of stories.
Yes. And so I was like, oh, well, good thing we're on here and we can actually like pick our seat and determine like, this isn't okay for us. This is. And Graham is so cute. He's 5 going on 6 now. So he actually does it too. Like he now knows we go early, we scan the area. He's like, oh, mommy, this is a clean row, looks good. No wrappers, no food, no crumbs. And then we can get to kind of wiping things down. But back to the pre-boarding. So tell me first, and then I can talk about how we do it. And we've done it different ways because I feel like sometimes I've asked to pre-board and been told, no, you know, you need to ask this way, or if you need to, like, I've had flight attendants be like, no, actually this is exactly the words to use. Yes. So, but then other people seem to be like, what did you just say? Like, I've used those same words and they are confused, but either way, I'll go through that. But you tell me, do you have a system in place to get that pre-board on your ticket?
Because I travel so frequently, I would say probably every 4 to 6 weeks I'm flying. Perks of being self-employed.
Yes.
You don't have to ask anybody for time off. My boss is really chill and cool. She always wants to go on the trip.
That's right.
And family is the most important thing to me. So I fly home to my hometown quite a bit. But yeah, I have received a lot of different responses. I have been close to tears sometimes. It really can rile you up. And so now I have a system where, and the way that I word it, I haven't been refused since. Also, I think the policies were not laws. It's an airplane company. It's not the Senate.
I know what you meant.
Their policies were fluctuating a bit over the past couple of years.
I remember
and it made
that.
Very confusing for the employees and for the people on the other side of the counter. So because I fly with the dog, I have to go and check in at the actual counter pre going through TSA. And so I start with the nut allergy. And I just tell them, hi, I'm checking a bag. I have a very severe food allergy. And immediately you can see their like wheels turning of like, that's not a disability, or like, we don't serve peanuts anymore.
Right.
Everybody has a different reaction to it. And I think I used to get really riled up because I felt the need to validate, for them to validate my experience and to make them believe me that this is a life-threatening medical condition.
Right.
How do you do that when you're in the chaos of an airport? I'm probably running late because I'm always running late. You have 300 people behind you. The dog is probably now getting a little spicy. So you're like, it's just a lot. So now I just say, hi, I have a severe food allergy and I need to board early so that I can sit in a specific seat that is going to be safe for me. Sometimes I don't even say food allergy. I'll say I have a medical condition where I'm going to need to sit in a specific seat. Those are the magic words.
Yes.
You need to sit in a specific seat.
Okay, that's funny. We have not talked about this before, but that is very similar to what they told me.
Okay.
They said you need to tell the gate agent, you're right, like before you, I think sometimes people think you get through security and then you go up to the agent that's sitting in front of the gate. It has to be the one who's giving you the boarding pass. So even if we don't have, we don't have a dog that we're bringing and trying to check and all of that, we do generally check a bag because again, parents and kids require a lot of things.
Yes.
So we also do it at the ticket counter pre-TSA, and one of them told me, you need to say something along the lines of, I need to pick my seat. And you don't even have to tell them why. I generally do. I also think for me, not that, food allergies for you as an adult are equally important as a food allergy in a child, but it is, to me, I feel like people give more sympathy to a child with a medical condition.
I feel like I get less sympathy. Like ever since I got the dog, like he's this fifi little thing.
Yeah.
He's the dog out of the American Girl doll catalog, IRL. I am in red lipstick, probably some very extra outfit. And like I have 3,000 things. So as soon as I got him, I was like, these people think that I'm trying to pull one over on them or abuse the system. So I just say, hi, I have a severe food allergy where I need to pick my seat in order to stay safe. Also, my purse is open because I'm about to pay them for the dog. I have my ID. And again, with the Allermates little pack, like just out of the corner there, I seeing that medical bag immediately is another really good signal. Ever since pick the seat and seeing that and leading with that, not I have a dog and checking this and is it overweight, and just lead with what's important first, and that is staying safe.
You know what, kind of as you were talking, I was thinking, I'm like, this is why people though are so frustrated. The people who live with food allergies are so frustrated because why should we have to do that mental gymnastics? I'm sorry, you're seeing me get like riled up, about to stand and get mad because, it's one of those things where it's like, what other medical condition do people have to justify it and be like, well, let me make sure that they see the cross on my medical bag. Like, that is not right. What is right is just like respecting that it is a serious medical condition and that we are very literally going up into a metal tube in the air away from any kind of medical services, where people are around us eating anything, especially if you have a kid, that they can be touching something because they're kids and they do that. And, you know, these are very, very scary, true, life-threatening things that we are having to manage. And the fact that we feel almost embarrassed to a point of like needing to justify and like be like, well, don't look at my other frou-frou things, because like that is BS.
Total BS.
I mean, it just makes me mad. And I think one of the issues, one of the problems is just the overall lack of awareness and understanding about what a food allergy actually is.
Totally.
And that's a freaking long conversation, but
that's a time for another time.
That is like 14 episodes of length in time, but I had to stop there and be like, as I'm listening to you, it's just not right. It's not fair.
I will say, you know what else I think has been helpful is when I'm booking the ticket on the Southwest site.
It does have that little
it's hidden. You have to click a couple of drop downs, but you can say peanut dust allergy.
I also find it interesting that it says dust allergy.
It's so infuriating. Again, we can talk about it at a different time. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything different. It's fine. I'll talk to Southwest about it. But yeah, and why is peanut the only one?
No.
Peanut allergy privilege is so real.
You are preaching. Preaching to the choir.
But I will say, like, checking that when I book it and then when I go up, it's on their screen. They see the medical bag. I've said the magic words and they're like, here's your little pre-board thing. I have had pushback.
Yep, me too.
I've had a woman be so unkind, giving me a dissertation on how millennials are weak and this was never a problem in their generation and all of this crazy stuff. Finally, she's like, fine, I'll put it on the boarding pass. Doesn't.
Fine, you'll do your job. Cool. Yeah. Thanks so much.
I get up there, I realize it's not on the ticket. Oh. And I have like tears in my eyes. I go to the ticket counter and they're like, I was like, I don't know if the policy has changed again. And she could tell I was like upset. And she like touched my wrist and she was like, it is, thank you for pre-boarding. It was a night and day experience. Wow. So it comes down to employee, which is like, it's luck of the draw. She, you can tell she was like a great mom, grandma vibes, held onto my wrist. And she was like, because I was like trying to do like panicking, doing the justifying, like, please let me pre-board.
Yes.
And she was like, hey, stop right there. It's totally fine. I'm going to add this for you right now. And I just want to take a second to thank you for pre-boarding.
Wow.
Because that means that you're going to keep yourself safe. That means you're going to keep our employees being able to do the best job that they can do. And you're going to keep the rest of the plane on schedule, because we don't want to have to ground the plane because of something silly that could have been preventable. And I was like, are you an angel?
Bless her.
Truly. She was like speaking directly to me. And then when I actually boarded, she was standing at the gate and she was like, I just want to make sure, do you have wipes? And I was like, you must have a food allergy person.
I was going to say, I would have been like, do you have a grandchild with a food allergy? What is happening here?
Yep. And I had my wet ones already in my hand. I was like, yep. And she was like, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Sent from above.
Truly.
I have a sent from above story as well. Okay. And I feel like I was planning to tell this story at another time, but now it makes sense.
Do it.
So, and we haven't talked yet about getting food through, which we will, like through TSA, because that, although Epi has never been stopped for me, we have had some issues. And that's kind of where this tale starts. Begins. So I get fired up about this too, because when you have a child and it's like your job to protect them.
Yes.
So everything that I have in my pack, everything that I'm bringing with me is everything that my child needs to like have a safe, enjoyable
normal
flight
experience.
Right. Like I have to do all of this work. I've busted my butt to get here to this TSA line in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I have all of these things that are, by the way, his diet is already limited. He is also just a picky eater. So like there's only certain things that he will eat that don't have to be like microwaved or cooked, you know, that sort of thing. And so when we're going through the line, and again, person by person, right? Yes. Because the majority of our experiences, I don't want to have this scare anybody, because we have flown so many times and it has usually been so positive.
I agree.
But this particular lady was on some sort of power trip that day. We had, we love granola butter, and it is
Oat
like
house?
a oat house, yes. And so it is like just made from oats and flavors and things, and Graham loves it.
Love.
And so there are these like small jars, and we also bring them to treatment because Graham has to eat certain things at his appointments. And so we'll mix like ground nuts into something that he likes, like a granola butter. And so we had some of that. This was actually on the way home from California, and we were going through security. We have the TSA pre-check. That's another tip. I would say we have had so many better experiences because of TSA pre.
$100 you will ever spend.
Oh my gosh, best. It's not only quicker, but yeah, the people you don't have to take off your shoes, but then like I feel like they also just aren't as crabby. I don't know, the people in the TSA line, they're like a little more understanding of things.
They also, I think their ropes are longer because they've been tested less.
Yeah.
You know?
That's probably true.
You don't have people.
Yes. Because, people are annoying too. Like, I mean, you have annoying TSA, but I'm sure there's so many annoying travelers that they have to manage and deal with.
So mutual.
Yes. And so, I'm going through the line. By the way, every time we've ever traveled, I've brought these same things. And I think that's the frustrating part too, is like, I've never been stopped before. And now I'm going through TSA, and this jar of granola butter, they stopped and said, this is what flagged. And I was like, oh yeah, my son has severe food allergies. We have to pack all of his own all of the food that he's going to eat on this journey home. And we cannot buy anything in the airport. So everything here I need so that my child is fed.
My heart rate is going up.
Yeah. And probably because I'm already like getting really like animated because this was so difficult for me. So she says, well, we can't bring this. And I said, again, my child has life-threatening food allergies. We need this so that he is fed on this trip. And he cannot eat anything in the airport. And I'm like trying to maintain calmness, even though I know at this point, I can read it in her eyes. She is ready to fight me. And so she said, no, and she picks up the food and walks over to the trash can, like is about to throw it away. And I just was like, you need to go get somebody else. Yeah. Go like I need to talk to a manager about this. So they said at this time that it was a liquid cream. Oh. They didn't even say it was, they were like, no, it's not a liquid, but there are certain creamy things.
I get stopped for yogurt all the time.
Yeah.
And the amount of yogurts that I have lost to the TSA trash bin.
Yeah.
Could.
And she said it could be on a sandwich. Like you could have spread it on a sandwich or on bread, but you can't bring it in. Okay, here's my thing. Even if that is technically the rule, which I am still not 100% sure that is, if they were correct in this moment. But the fact that there should be a accommodation made.
Totally.
Right? So like, even if that is the rule for everybody else, for my kid, I need this item so that they are able to successfully take a trip and eat something while they're flying. And yes, we had other things, but again, like we're talking about a kid with a life-threatening allergy. Like there has to be an accommodation made.
Right.
And so she was so nasty. She said something to me, like finally the guy came over and I was getting very upset. I mean, I was being kind. I wasn't yelling or doing anything like outrageous, but I was very animated and starting to get a little emotional. And so they eventually let me go and they did not throw away my food.
Thank God. Because that's expensive too.
Yes, it is.
Allergy food life is so much more expensive than non-allergy food life.
And she said something like under her breath about like, you think, you got away with it this time, but you're not going to think, you're not better than the TSA or like said something like that. And I just I was like, well, I hope you never have anybody with a life-threatening condition that you have to care for. And like, I don't normally say things like that, but I was just so angry that she had no amount of like understanding or sympathy, and that like the accommodation was so hard to get for my child that I had to fight that hard. I was so angry. And so I said that and kind of just walked away. And then the waterworks, right? Like I just started crying.
And you haven't even like gotten to the seats yet, that's where most of the battle is.
Yes. Well, so So then this is the time I was already so worked up that I'm like, I cannot have something else happen. And I don't always talk to the passengers around me, but, you know, if it's a really crowded airplane or if I'm feeling like people are eating a lot, like it's a heavy meal time, like we're traveling during a time when people are eating a lot, then sometimes I'll just say to the people right next to us or right in front of us, like, hey, my child has severe allergies. You know, I don't expect, he also has a milk allergy, but I don't expect people to like not eat their goldfish. Yeah. You know, but if we can just at least eliminate one, like not have peanut butter smears or like, you know, cracking peanut shells. God, if anybody did that, you'd be like, okay.
I've seen pistachio shells.
Yeah.
Who would do that?
I don't know.
That's like even worse than like clipping your toenails on an airplane. Like, grow up.
Yep, I agree. So I did in this time though, right after that happened, I spoke up and I started to talk to people around me, and I had one guy kind of like ignore me, like not even turn around and look at me while I was talking. And as I was talking, I just started like crying, explaining myself, and I could not get words out. And this is so not me. I'm a composed person. Like it was not.
You're the most measured person I know.
I have not at all ever had that experience before or again, but like there was just something in that moment that had me really upset. And similar to you, I'm like, wonder if it was the same like amazing angel lady. Wouldn't that be crazy? But she came over to me and she was like, honey, what is it that you need me to help you with? Like, what can I do? And I explained to her a little more quietly as I'm like crying.
Oh my God.
Graham's looking at me like, what is
you good?
Yeah. What is wrong with my mom? And so I told her, and she was like, just sit down, take care of and not in a mean way. She was like, sit down, I'll take care of it. Wow. And she talked to people around me and, you know, and she was like, I'm happy to, you know, move you to a seat. Like we'll do whatever we need to do. And you know, in these conversations, when I do have them, I do say like, I'm happy to move. I'm not asking you if you can't not eat your peanuts, that's fine. Just let me know so that I can move to a safe spot. Like I try to take the responsibility because it is me having to manage, you know, but anyway, she was amazing.
This is a flight attendant?
Yeah, it was a flight attendant. She was an amazing human being and just like took the weight off of me and made me not feel silly about it.
Yeah. I love that. An angel.
It was.
Yeah. I used to not talk to people around me. But then I realized this could be so much more of a peaceful flight if I did. I am not a person with any amount of social anxiety. Like if anything, I could use a dose of social anxiety. Like I'm too comfortable. I'm like too confident. And maybe I don't have confidence. I just have delusion just in life in general.
Whatever. Gets you through.
The one thing that I like, might be maybe what people feel like who have social anxiety and they like, so that's their thing. Talking to people around me on the airplanes. And I have just noticed like that, those are the magic words there. I just say it super briefly. Yeah. I wait until, because I too pre-board, I wait until everybody in the row in front of me and behind me have loaded in. So I'm just saying it two times. Right. Once in front of me, once behind me. Yep. Give the rest to God. And so I wait until they're fully loaded. And I just get all three in front at the attention at the same time, which I've had people be like, what the, I don't want to, so I don't have to turn around. But usually they're really, really kind. Yes. And I just say, hi, I have a very severe, this is key. Always lead with tree nut first because peanut allergy privilege. I do this at restaurants too. I have a life-threatening tree nut and peanut allergy, all nuts. Were you planning to have any snacks with any kind of nuts in them today while we're flying? And sometimes they're like, totally fine if you are. I would just love the opportunity to move before we get up in the air and it's too late. Yeah. So then I'm not telling somebody, hey, you can't eat this. Right. Little do they know, I have just spent the past 15 minutes decontaminating my whole seat. Right. But I have had to move before.
Grab the wet ones again.
Yes, grab the wet ones again. But I'm not asking them to accommodate me. I'm not telling them, hey, you just spent 5x the amount on those Nutter Butters because you bought them at the kiosk past TSA.
And now you can't eat them.
Right. I'm just saying, please let me have the opportunity to move. It's brevity, 2 sentences. Here's the allergy, 3, I guess. Do you have anything you're going to eat? I would just love to have the opportunity to move if so. And so many times they say, oh my gosh, I have Cracker Jacks. Would those have nuts, right? And I say, yes, I believe so. I'm happy to move. I offer it again. No, please don't feel it's just an hour and a half. They're happy to. Right. Versus, hey, you can't have those. I too would be like, what? I just paid like $15, not to mention the ticket. And, maybe their kid just what they're paying. Like they have their whole life going on too. Right. So brevity and lead with, it's my thing. Right. I would love to move if so.
You're like, but no, really. But really,
happily,
I'd love to move away from your peanuts.
I'll do like a Spitfire checklist. We've talked about getting on the pre-board. We've talked about get the ticket counter. We've talked about pre-boarding, but I'll do a very quick checklist of sort of my process. Yeah. I think yours probably would be a little bit longer, but same thing. When I board, I just look for the least amount of crumbs as possible. Yep. I wipe down with wet ones. There's my very sweet friend she was using aerosol, not on the airplane. I was like, in her business. She was using aerosol because she thought that kills germs. Yeah, and I'm like,
it's not the germs that I'm worried about. Although let's kill those too.
Totally. But spraying something with a chemical does not take away the protein. No. It's the friction. Right. It's the moving. So wet ones, because they are antibacterial, does not mean they make me safe from peanuts. Right. That means that I am wiping away the enzyme, lots of friction.
What I love about wet ones too, I find compared to other wipes, say a Clorox wipe, they suds up. Yes. And it makes me feel and I think it does, again, the more friction. And you now have got a sud, so you're wiping more or harder to get those off, and that's what actually removes the protein.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wet one the heck out of everything I'm going to touch, armrests, the little whatever. I wear long sleeves and long pants.
Yep. Same. We keep Graham in.
Yeah. I even will have a sweatshirt that I'm going to take off, and I'll turn it inside out, after I've deboarded, turn it inside out and bundle it up. That way
it's not getting on anything else.
In the car, if we're stopping for a coffee, whatever, I don't feel like I'm in my shield, essentially. Something else, of course, talking to the passengers around me, I speak to the flight attendant because they're just sitting there in the aisle or standing there in the aisles waiting during the pre-board. And I just give them a heads up of, hey, I have a very severe food allergy to all nuts. I'm going to wipe down my seat. I have my EpiPens, but you should be aware, in case anything happens.
You know what's going on before you even get to me.
Right. God forbid there's an accident. Sometimes most of the time, I get super understanding. Again, thank you so much for pre-boarding. Thank you so much for telling me. Do you have enough wipes? Thank you for having your EpiPens. Sometimes they say, we don't serve peanuts anymore. And I'm
why is it always with that smile?
So condescending. Yes. I'm that's not, I wasn't okay. Not worth my breath. I'm just thank you so much. Yep. Whatever. Something else that I found really helpful is something that's gonna be very triggering for me is hearing bags open. Okay. I find myself hyperfixating on what if that's a Reese's? What if that's Cracker Jack? I will make up these stories in my head. Yeah. Super not healthy. So, honestly, having my earphones in can be really helpful. So pre-downloading, a forever fave, it's always Taylor Swift. Something that's going to just get me out of it, or classical if I'm going to be reading.
Yep. So you're not distracted by the words.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. I just don't want to hear any crinkles. I have done everything. I cannot control the whole plane. Yeah. I've spoken to the 6 people around me that I can speak to. The end. Yep. The end.
So one of the things, speaking of crinkles, so that they serve a lot of is dairy filled things. You know, there's always like the snack mix that has the kind of Cheez-It type thing, goldfish type snack. And Graham has never had a severe reaction in the air, but he is very sensitive, and he anytime, like when they go to hand out snacks, I always have a pit in my stomach, because the minute that people around us open that, like I hear it and I see it, people opening it, he sneezes. So again, not like he's not having a reaction. So I have to remind myself that takes a lot of mental work to tell myself, like, Sarah,
he's safe.
He's safe. Calm down. He's not going to have a reaction. And if he does, we are as prepared as possible.
Yeah.
That said, it is a little unnerving that he has that response. I won't call it a reaction, but that response.
His body knows.
Yes.
And your body is sent to fight or flight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I love the headphone idea.
You can't do that with a kid.
Feel like I can. Well, yes, I wish I could put my headphones on and read my book and listen to Taylor Swift. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I will say though, Graham has been such a better traveler. I mean, he's going on 6, so like he can really have an iPad now and chill out. But Ethan, I have a little boy. I think I said last time, but he's 3, and
Metallica.
oh yeah, hard rocker. He loves the Trolls movie.
Yes,
that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
Yes, and
to be clear,
he does really like rock music though. I'm like,
So
should I get him
funny.
a set of drums? No, absolutely not.
For your own
not.
sanity.
But what I was trying to say is, a 3-year-old on an airplane, there is no rest. There is no chillaxing.
Sarah, I can't even imagine having to wrangle little ones who are touching everything. Like,
Everything.
You can wipe down as much as you want, but they're still going to stick their fingers in weird crevices.
It's so true. And,
oh Lordy.
Okay, Ethan, we're getting off the rails, but Ethan yesterday in a public place licked a bench.
No.
Licked a picnic bench.
And you wonder why your family's always sick.
Yes. I'm like, and people are always like, he's getting a good immune system. I'm like, dude,
don't talk to me about immune systems.
I know. I'm like, first of all, I know way more than you about immune systems, but no, the kid, yes, it is so much harder in some ways when the kid is that age, the 2 to 3, even 18 months this age, because they're putting everything in their mouth and they are, touching any and everything. Again, Graham is much better, but Ethan still is very much like that. And it is a little bit terrifying. Hence the wiping down. Some people, I have never done it, but I have seen some people buy
the seat covers
or just get a fitted twin sheet and kind of put it over.
That would be me if I had a child.
Yeah. I think for me, it's I'm already carrying so much. It feels a little overkill to me.
Totally.
It's one of those things where, you go through your list of here are the things that are going to keep me safe, the things that I think statistically prove will keep you more safe or at least reduce risk. And then I think there are things that for sure, if that makes your mental health better to do this, I support it. For me, it feels a little
like a safety behavior that's more in the toxic direction.
Yes, yes. And again, we do wear the long pants, to make sure, because he has gotten contact reactions from rubbing up against some things. So, anything to reduce that risk, especially when you're in the air, I get it. And again, support anybody's things that make them feel better. But we have never personally done that. And we've always been
fine.
Okay.
Yeah. The mental part of it is the biggest thing for me, because I have been traveling since I was I don't know how many months old, but a baby. We've always been a big Southwest fam. And back in the day, one of their big brand pillars was roasted peanuts. And it was my nightmare. And
I bet.
But at the time I didn't know that this was so dangerous for me. I thought it was my milk allergy. At the time I thought it was lactose intolerant, but it was a childhood thing that I grew out of by 4th grade.
Right.
And I thought they were one and the same. Just don't eat it. And if you do, you take a little pill or you wait some time, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I didn't have this extreme fear, impending doom situation. I would braid this was one of my things. Now we don't do this. This does not help. I would French braid my hair into 2 braids.
Okay.
When the peanuts were being passed out, I would take the braids and tie them over my nose, like that Looney Tune sheriff character.
No.
because smelling it, if I could smell my shampoo instead of the peanuts,
Okay.
I knew I would be less nervous.
So you weren't trying to physically like block the protein from entering the nostril.
No.
It was like you didn't want to smell it because that set off like some bit of anxiety or worry.
Yes, it just kept me more calm if I smelled me being the biggest extrovert in the world, was probably having a very long discussion with the person next to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say anything. I would just be tired, and they'd be like, what's going on?
They're like, kids are weird. But you know what? Kids are
I wasn't
brilliant.
even a kid. I was like in college.
Oh, okay, well.
And like sometimes it was like a hot guy. Like, and I'd just be like,
Oh my gosh.
can you imagine?
I have secondhand embarrassment right now for you.
Totally fine. So now, I remember when they took those off the plane, I believe it was August 2018.
Oh, wow.
It was the best day of my life.
I bet.
And I was like, wow, I was having my own Ethan Metallica moment. But now there are a couple things that really keep me calm and that have helped to sort of reverse the car back to my being aware of just how dangerous this medical condition is.
Yeah.
State of mind versus like, oh, like I could just let this be a runaway train and eventually I'll stop flying and that will never be me. Like I'm the girl who's going to France.
Right.
I'm the girl who goes on safari with her
you
parents.
should.
Yes. So a couple of things that were helpful. I talked to my doctor about it, and we are not MDs. Our MDs are not speaking to you specifically. They are only speaking to us. So the big headline is talk to your doctor. But my doctor, for my body and my allergy, although they are very severe, he gave me a statistic, which always helps his like researched approach.
For sure.
You can never say this is like an absolute yes or an absolute no, but you can look to research, which is why he's the perfect doctor for me. But he looked me in the face and he was like, gave me research. I won't even try to quote it because I don't remember the exact one. And he could just tell I was still worried. And he just like looked me straight in the face and he was like, Danielle, I'm not concerned for your safety if you are on a plane and somebody opens nuts around you.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. Like, I'm not concerned for you. I'm not saying you may, some sort of response, but I'm not worried about you having an anaphylactic reaction in the air because somebody else is eating it around you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
It's like a deep breath moment.
Yes.
You're like okay.
If I'm trusting my doctor with my life and doing OIT, I'm going to, that has to transfer over to this.
You have to listen to him then too.
Yes.
You can't pick and choose.
And I also look back in my life, granted allergies changed through the years, but I do know I was very severe as a child as well. And I lived in a sorority house where my roommates ate peanut butter in the bunk bed above me. I went to summer camp. There was peanuts all over the place.
Yep.
It was totally fine. I traveled for how many decades on Southwest with peanuts being opened all at the same time by over 100 people. Yeah. And I was always okay. So that's my own research of like my own statistic.
Yep.
So those two things. And then from my therapist, she has been so helpful for me. Just sort of like recognizing what is necessary, the safety behaviors, like what is necessary for keeping yourself safe and what are you doing that is perpetuating this spiral of anxiety, a safety behavior. Example, like wiping something down 3 times.
Right.
Mid-flight, I start getting anxious again. I'm not going to wipe that down again. Like that's a safety behavior.
Yeah.
You have done everything to keep yourself safe. We're not going to participate in this fight or flight because it won't stop. It's just an endless spiral. The other thing is just like really tapping into mindfulness and some of the mindfulness exercises that she's given me.
What are they?
The one that's like most general that I've used also in like concert and like closed air venues that's helpful. It's like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can taste, 2 things you can touch, 1 thing you can smell, something like that.
Okay.
So it's like going through your 5 senses, but it takes a minute to be like Sarah's blue eyes, the olive tree in the corner, the camera light, my black loafer. Like it takes a minute. So it just sort of puts you back in your body and out of the like mental twister that's whipping faster in your head.
Makes your brain focus on something else and not hyperfixate on the thing that you're worried about at that moment.
There have been a couple of recent ones since I've been seeing her, since I've been in treatment with Dr. Silvers. I like wipe down the seat. I go to put on my seatbelt. My hand, it's like stuck in the between. I'm digging around, pull it out, cashew.
No.
In like where the seatbelt just was. And I was like, okay, like what would Paige do? Paige, my therapist. She's like, she would tell you, this is not life-threatening. Just like take care of it. No
go
safety
wash your
behaviors.
hands.
So I like hopped up. I was like, hey, I have to wash my hands. We were already, again, about to pull back. Different instance. And the flight attendant was like, you better be like going into active labor.
Right.
I was like, I have
You're like, well, basically,
yeah.
yes.
I was like, I have a life-threatening allergy to peanuts. To all nuts, and I just touched a cashew. And she's like, no problem. Wash my hands. It was a pretty empty flight.
Yeah.
So I had the
Switch
whole row.
seats.
I just moved to the aisle.
Yep. You did it.
And I was fine.
That's great.
So yeah, so like the mindfulness has really been helpful. Another like hot tip, if you can get out on one of the early flights, not like first thing in the morning.
Yep.
Well, and so for some people that might work, but for me and my timing, it doesn't. Just like before lunch is what I try for.
Yeah.
Honestly, like in the 9 a.m. hour is good for me because planes are clean. They've only had like one flight before that.
These flight attendants, they don't have enough time. I mean,
No,
I've
they
been
don't.
talking about how dirty the airplane is, but like, I mean,
They have like 5
to their
minutes
credit,
between
exactly
out and in.
And I think there's all sorts of rules and things that they have to be out at a certain time, or else
Right.
they get docked or like charged money, like these airlines. So they do. They
The-
have
right.
to operate under these strict timing.
They're stewardesses and stewards. Like
Yeah.
the cleaning crew, like the actual cleaning crew that comes
Yeah.
in after the last flight of the day, before the first flight of the next
Yeah.
day. You want to be as close to that as possible.
Yeah.
So that's been really helpful. But yeah, and then it's one of those things where I'm just like, your life is already so limited
Yep.
in ways that other people don't even have to think twice about. We're not going to lose flying. Like, we're not going to lose this. You've always done this. You've always been safe. You have 2 doctors getting you back into the pre-pandemic mindset. Like, you're good.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I used to wear my COVID mask because I would think like it's just one
One
barrier.
more added protection. Yeah.
Actually, it was like gloves, that and shield. So it's a dark time.
I want to see a picture of this.
Oh my God. I used to call myself the fruit ninja. It was like deep pandemic, like deep pandemic.
Right.
When like the flights were empty. I was still flying then.
Yeah.
And I looked like the fruit ninja. I was like, dong, dong, dong. It was ridiculous. But I remember like when I decided to do no gloves and the shield because the pandemic went away, like we got the vaccine, it was more normal. And I remember feeling like scared to take away those barriers. And I was like, what are you doing? Because I liked that my hands weren't exposed.
Yeah.
I liked that I had a shield. And I was like, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
And then I think probably for the past like 4 or 5 months, I stopped doing the mask.
Yeah.
Unless it was like flu season or there was a spike. But yeah, it's been really healing.
Yeah.
It's totally possible. Whether you're in like a space where you've never traveled with, like you're new to having food allergies, it just came up later in life, or you have a child, you've never flown with them, or you were like me, like you used to be good, you went through a pit and now you want to work back to the way you used to be. Like whatever boat you're in, it is possible to safely take a calculated risk. And I think we are 2 different versions of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, do the things that make sense, that are actually statistically proven to reduce any kind of risk, but then try not to let your mind kind of wander too far off of that, because I mean, people do it all the time. You did it your whole life. Graham has now taken probably 25 plane trips safely. And yes, you have a little extra work. That just comes with the food allergy life, right? I mean, it's never going to be like easy breezy. You're always going to have some extra conversations or pack some extra things and do some extra work. But I mean, it totally is possible.
I will say for international flights, I'll speak to that very briefly.
Yeah.
My family was a big international trip people. We did Italy, the Netherlands, Africa, France, like always a big trip. And my personal rule, even before I was super freaked out, one, because airplane food is just gross. I don't care if you're in first class. It's just like not going to be great.
No.
I don't eat anything on a plane, especially when you're over an ocean, that I did not bring on the plane.
No.
And I had like a moment where I started feeling self-conscious about that, where I was like, this sucks. And it does.
It does suck.
But then one of my favorite content creators of all time, Tinks. Have you?
No.
Oh my God, I have
No
to send her to
idea.
you.
Yeah.
She's my favorite. And her podcast is great. And millennial women, Tinks started posting, she travels a lot between New York, LA, and London. And she would pack these like elaborate salads and these like all of these snacks and like this, that, and the other. And I was like, this girl's like the biggest foodie ever. She doesn't have any allergies to my knowledge that she's ever talked about.
Yeah.
And like, why do I have to feel self-conscious that I'm bringing this elaborate setup to go to fly to France? But for her, I look at her content and I'm like, she's so smart. Like, what a delicious looking salad. Like, ooh, I bet the other passengers are jealous. And
They
I'm like,
probably are. Like you said, airplane food's not great.
Different reason, different people.
Yeah.
Why is hers cool and mine is something to be self-conscious over?
Right.
So that would like flip the script for me.
That's great.
And I think that's another thing. Like, there's always a way to flip the script.
The mental script, for sure. Yeah. And, you know, one thing, whenever we board, like I said, sometimes we talk to people, sometimes we tell the flight attendant. I wouldn't say I do it every single time. It really depends on as with anything, I think it depends so much on all the other extenuating factors.
Totally.
How early is the flight? How full is the flight? How reactive is Graham in the moment? Like sometimes right
His
now,
allergy
for
load.
example, he's like dealing with a lot of environmental allergies. So in my head, I think of this like bucket and like how full is it at the moment that we're about to board the plane, you know, and that kind of dictates some of it for me. But the wipe down, I think what I've seen with Graham, that is really encouraging too, is that he's taking a lot of ownership for himself. And I'm really proud of that, proud of him and proud of myself for kind of putting that in him, that he's like, okay, mommy, where's the wipe? You know, and he's like wiping his own seat and doing all of that, setting him up hopefully to one day be you know, be able to be out and on his own, and being safe, thinking things through, but also not like over worrying and being fearful. So we do, you know, the wipe down, and then we also use, if you heard of Well2 wipes, right?
Only from you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are the only wipe that actually removes peanut protein. Oh. So it's, you know, we have other allergies that we're dealing with, but at least one of them, you know, you can be like, okay, this for sure isn't here. But we just wipe it down, like the tray and the seat belt, anything that could potentially have peanut protein on it. And it's scientifically proven to remove that, which I think is really, really cool. And actually they are giving us a discount for our listeners.
I'm going to be using our own discount.
Yes, of course. So it's EpiPod 20.
Cool.
And you use that at checkout and you get 20% off.
Nice.
And they wanted to kind of be a part of this experience for families who might be afraid to travel. We also use them like on picnic tables. You can use them,
School,
you know,
whatever.
anywhere that you need to kind of rid of peanut protein.
Yeah.
But I do find it really, we use it the most in an airplane because I'm like, okay, this is one more extra step that is actually, you know, proven to reduce the allergy risk here in this setting. So that's another thing. If you're interested in that, then definitely.
So we'll link that.
Yes.
We'll link your cooler pack.
Yes.
We can link my Allermates little bag that's helpful for flashing.
We also have the bigger Allermates bag for us.
Okay, because you have a lot more things to carry.
A lot of medicines.
Yeah.
Scenario kit is what they call it.
But yeah, I think the TLDR is
Sorry, I'm old. What does that mean?
Too long didn't read.
Okay.
Like, just like, here's the...
I do learn a lot from you, Danielle, that are really important things, but I also learn a lot of like the fun social things.
You
that
are
I am
so
just like asleep
funny.
under a rock sometimes.
No.
We're like 2 years
You're
apart.
not asleep. You are running 300 miles an hour after two little people.
Thank you. That is very true. And I need to give myself more credit. You're
Yes.
right. I'm working on that this year. But I don't know all of the cool
lingo.
slang, the TikTok,
I'm just a 32-year-old, like 16-year-old, you know?
I want to know. I need to know these things. Are you kidding? Before I know it, I'm going to blink and Graham's going to be using words that I've never heard of before. And I'm going to be like, Danielle,
what does this mean?
tell me what this word is.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yes. But okay. The
The
TLDR.
TLDR is take care of yourself well in all capacities. And to me, that means like you can't be flippant with a life-threatening health condition, but you also have to treat yourself well and fair. Like don't make your life smaller than it has to be.
Yeah.
And it's okay if, I talk about this in therapy all the time. Like your anxiety and your fear is your body trying to keep you safe. Like it's trying to do a good job for you. So it's okay if it's there. But as long as you are pushing yourself to keep living, if for something that you know is safe for what your MD told you, like you have to just like live well.
Yeah.
Treat yourself well, mind. And like, I guess this is something that at 32, who's always had these allergies, I'm just now getting a grasp on.
Yeah.
Is like, I know how to take care of the risks and my safety really well.
Yeah.
But I am at the sacrifice of my mind. And it's like, you have to treat your mind well too.
Yeah.
When all that the allergy puts on it.
And is the risk worth the reward? And generally, I think in these cases it is, because the risk is not so much if you've done all of these things that are the right things to do to keep yourself safe, then the risk is relatively low. And the reward is you get to go and have a life experience. You get to go and, for us, go to actually get food allergy treatment that will one day take away some of this for us. So for me, that risk, I think it's small, but that small risk is certainly worth the reward of getting to go places. And like you said, like have this like bigger, broader, beautiful life.
Speaking of, I have to go pack for a flight.
Oh my gosh.
So thank you for listening.
Yes. Thank you so much. And please leave us a review if that is something that you have the time for.
No,
we would really appreciate it.
She's being too nice. This is our personality. I'll be bad cop. If you are still listening and you found any of what we said to be helpful or life-giving, you have to give a review because that is how new podcasts.
You're so good for me, Danielle.
Thank you.
I need this.
You're so good for me. Like you are my allergy mom. You have to leave us a review because that is going to be one of the things that determines the success of this podcast and our ability to reach the ears that need to hear it.
Yes.
So you have to give us a review and send it to any food allergy people in your life.
That'd be great.
It could be helpful.
And next week, yes. So we're going to talk about something that I have actually never talked about on my page at all.
Which is crazy because I feel like you're constantly sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly of allergy life.
And I think, we'll get into this next week or next episode, but I think it's because I'm not fully committed to the fact that I made the right decision here.
Okay.
So have we even told?
We're talking about the allergy lunch table.
Yep. The one that, you're growing up and they say, hey, here's a spot that's safe for your child.
It's off to the side.
It's been around, I think, that idea for a very long time, and it has evolved for sure. But I just haven't talked about it on my page, but I'm ready to talk about it here and kind of go through the different nuances of the situation and kind of where we're at now, and also the fact that it'll probably change soon. So
for your family.
Yes. So yeah, I want to hear too about your experience growing up with that idea.
It's one of my reaction stories. It's one of those times. And
we'll so
I'm comfortable and happy to share that. And also my experience growing up.
There's a lot to unpack, but I do think it's something that gets asked a lot is like, okay, my kid's about to enter school. What the heck do I do?
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine being like, here, now go set lunch with,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to think about. So we're going to go through all of that and kind of how I made my decision and the different kind of good and bad in both.
We'll see you next week or next episode.
Yeah. Can't wait.
We'll see you for episode 3.
Episode 3.
Episode 3.
Right. Yay.
We ran out of time for questions, but that's okay.
Okay.
We'll have questions next time.
That's right.
We'll give you a double
keep
dose.
Sending them. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.